Hi everyone, this is Phoenix Normand, and I wanted to let you know about a conversation that I had with Kay Curtis, who is oddly enough a dear friend of mine from with a past dating all the way back to high school. He was actually in my very first band, and over the years he has basically done a million things. He and I are kind of kindred spirits in that we kind of took the ball and ran with it. And Kelly is the CEO of Kay Curtis Kay Curtis Financial Group. He's a former executive at Apple and a former broker at Merrill Lynch, transacting over $700 million in closed business. And he now runs a group called Mind, Money, Power, which is personal coaching and empowerment for executives and basically those seeking to master their mind, their personal power, and their money. And I wanted to bring him in specifically to talk about where we are now. There are a lot of people, because of COVID-19 and the numerous closures and layoffs and all of that, it's really important that we kind of tell the truth and start having those kind of crunchy conversations around what the hell do we do right now. And I wanted to bring Kelly on just because I know that he has some very specific ideas and tons of knowledge and things for people to think about that's less droll than the numerous top 10 lists that I'm seeing all over LinkedIn. So here's a great conversation that we had. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you can take something from it of value, because that's what I try to do with Tribe and anything that I do and my own personal coaching. And I will also list at the end of the video where you can contact Kelly if you're looking for, really good coaching, especially around finance and personal power, and especially where money is concerned. He's definitely someone to reach out to because he's incredible. So enjoy the show, and we'll catch up later. So what I kind of wanted to talk about with you, we kind of chatted about it earlier, is it's really just, people are hurting kind of across the board. And, I've talked to a lot of people sort of in my private tribe, as well as just people in the wild, reading through comment sections and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And just getting a sense that people just don't really know what to do right now,
Right.
because there's so much uncertainty, both in the market, with their jobs for the ones that have them still,
Right. Yeah.
not really knowing what's coming down the pipe. I was just chatting with my New Zealand and Australia chairs,
Mhm.
and they're under like a pretty hardcore lockdown.
Okay.
And then one of them says that their company just mandated they're not going to be returning to work until the first week of September. Like it's
Oh,
that
geez.
deep.
Really?
Exactly.
Wow.
So, and that's in Melbourne. So,
Wow.
I think, more than anything, you were the first person that popped into my mind because one, like I think of you as sort of like a financial genius. And I'm sure you're like, all right, calm down, buddy.
Yeah.
But
Gotta hold your horses
like,
there,
hold
dude.
on now. But no, but I mean, one thing that I admire about you is you keep it real, and we're similar like that in the sense that you you kind of tell it like it is, and I think you have this great sort of bird's eye view on what people should do across numerous demographics of
Yeah.
income. And I think I wanted to have this conversation specifically with you just because I think it will help people in those different brackets kind of
Mhm.
plan their next moves, or find the right way to scramble, if you will, because I know
Yeah.
that are check to check and that have just lost their jobs are just like in DEFCON 5 or DEFCON 1, whatever the highest level is,
Yeah.
and like,
Right.
what the F do I do right now?
Yeah.
So, I just wanted to sort of chat with you and sort of just get a general sense of, what do we do?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I have a few ideas as far as what people can do, and we all know people that are in various situations,
Mhm.
and so you're right. People are looking for answers, and a lot of people right now, is that fight, flight, or freeze
Yep.
response.
Right.
And so some folks are just not doing anything. You know, some of them are retreating to Netflix and just putting their head in the under the blanket.
Hmm.
But everyone responds differently.
Right.
But at some point, this is going to be over.
Right.
And so you want to try to position yourself best you can. And I think once this is over, we are going to enter into a landscape that we've never seen before.
Right.
And I think there are some things that aren't coming back.
Right.
Some of this is there's going to be a holdover and going to stay with us for a long time. You're going to see masks. There was people walking around with masks for at least the next
Forever,
year.
essentially. I know. I mean, you know this. I travel probably. I used to travel like 30 weeks a year,
Yeah.
and you know, I sort of saw them in the wild. I've lived in Asia, and it's kind of almost a cultural thing. Like if you're sick,
Right.
you wear a mask, which
Yeah.
freaks everybody out on over here because they're thinking like, "Well, are you sick?" You know what I mean? So yeah, I think masks are definitely going to be a thing. Like you mentioned, I think a lot of people aren't going to be returning to jobs because I think companies will get smarter and only need certain employees. You know, it
Right.
will become much more of a remote workforce.
Yep.
And again, that's one of those fears I think that a lot of people have as they sort of think through this and try to figure out what their next steps are and how they can kind of weatherproof themselves going forward.
Yeah, I think they're. I mean, with every major catastrophe or downturn or event, there always is a lot of opportunity. And so if you're paying attention and making the right moves and can adapt, then you can take advantage of the opportunities because they will be there,
Right.
up and down the spectrum. And so if you're willing to adapt and do new things, you might have been doing something for the last 10 years that may not be something that you can do anymore.
Right. It's just not, it's suddenly irrelevant, which
Suddenly irrelevant.
that's a hard pill to swallow. But again, I like that you keep mentioning opportunity because I see the same thing. I mean, I've had to scramble even in my own business,
Yeah.
where I once used to be able to travel and actually go do what I do. I now had to move everything online as quickly as possible in order to literally pay my rent. So, and I think that's something that, I'm hoping people really get a sense of is that, yes, this sucks. Yes, it's hard for a lot of people. Yes, a lot of people are having to scramble, especially if they didn't prepare for a long winter, so to speak.
Right.
But they should also see opportunity in the market, and maybe even the skill set that they have, morph that in such a way where they might take a job that, 3 months ago they would have been like, not in this lifetime. You know what I mean?
Right.
But if it's a bridge to something else, and if it's enough of an income to at least pay your sort of basic necessities and bills,
Yeah.
why not?
You hit it right on the head in that a lot of things that you're going to be forced to do, some of us, may not be ultimately what you want to end up doing, but like you said, it's a bridge to the thing you want to do, or you can use it to pay for your education,
right,
for the thing that you want to do. There's going to be some skills that you may not have right now that you need to go out and acquire,
right,
and that may cost money. It could cost time, or a combination of both. But in the meantime, hey, I'm going to do this hustle over here,
right,
so I can fund that ramp up in knowledge, so then I can therefore turn it into something else.
How do you feel about side hustles? I mean, I've been preaching them for years. I've always thought, I love like all the sort of fancy terminology they give it, gig economy and all sorts of bullshit. But, for me, it's always been, how to keep my ass off the poorhouse when all hell breaks loose. That's how I've always approached it. So call it whatever the hell you choose to. But for me, that's been, because when I had to short sell my house in 2008, I was not ready for that. I was not ready. And I was gig economying my ass off trying to basically, pay for that mortgage that adjusted, all of a sudden I had a great, easy to, handle mortgage.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, I'm paying like $4,000 or $5,000 a month. And I'm like, that kind of money. So,
so you have to adjust.
You do. But I mean, so with that, let's kind of, break it down a little bit. For someone that, is in a position right now where they were check to check, they might have a little bit of savings, it's enough right now that, hopefully if they saved enough, can last them about 3 months, and they might have like a little bit of discretionary spending. What would you say to do? I mean, is this one of those things where you, obviously the government is offering a lot of incentives when we're all waiting on that first stimulus check to show up in the
Right. It's like, where my check at? I
right,
said
where
I
the
was giving
damn
me a
check?
check. I
He's
ain't
like, give
seen
me
shit.
that. I mean, it's not gonna pay much, but it'll cover my car note for like 3 months maybe, but not much else.
Yeah. I don't even know who I'm supposed to get the check. I don't know if does everybody get a check?
I
I don't
think
know.
everyone gets a check. It's like Oprah. She's handing out checks everywhere.
Right. Everybody get one.
Exactly. No, I think it's actually based on your income, essentially.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all it is. So if you're like making $1 million plus, you ain't getting no check.
Okay.
But
I should get a check then. I didn't make a
you ain't
million.
getting no check. I know you're out of the league. Don't even try asking. Don't
I
look.
gotta check the chart to see if I qualify for
You
a
don't.
check.
You get like $4.58, and you probably should donate that.
Yeah.
But,
I qualified this year, maybe years prior.
yeah, exactly.
I need one
No,
now.
I feel you. Yeah, everybody's had that 2019 was interesting as well. So I'm like, okay, 2020, that's a nice joke. But
Yeah, I believe in side hustles. I'm a huge believer in side hustles. I learned the hard way that you should have some sort of income stream that you own. You own that shit. Nobody can take it away from you. You can't get laid off from it. You own it. And so I always say, I don't care if it's $10 a month or a week, you own it. And then you can grow it from there. You can always get one of my best clients started his business when he was working for a big pharmaceutical company, started it in his garage, and for a number of years didn't make a whole lot of money at it, but at a certain point, it actually started surpassing his regular job's income. And he came to me, he said, Kelly, what should I do? Do I still go to work? I said, no, you keep going to as long as they're willing to give you a check.
Exactly. Exactly.
As long as they're handing out checks, you keep showing up.
Get that money. Exactly. And I tell people the same. I mean, I ended up, when I was working at Square, I did the same thing. I mean, I loved the company. I loved the CEO, but I hated the people that were supporting. But so I ended up starting a luxury candle company, like right under, like literally in the building. And I was selling my candles to other people at Square. And then finally I got to a point where, they invited me to sell at their own markets, their internal markets. And I was killing it, $7,000 this one day, 8,000 times they did it before the Christmas one. And finally it kind of, did so well, similar to your friend's story, that I ended up actually getting fired because they were like, so we just kind of feel that your heart's not really in it anymore. And like, we're actually consumers of yours. And we think that you might want to do that because this particular thing clearly isn't your jam. And so we mutually parted, but they did give me like a really nice check to go away.
Nice.
So
nice. That's how you got to do it.
Business. Yeah.
My first entree in my first business was really a result of almost just that. I've always been in sales.
Yeah.
And so I was working for a really big company. I won't say any names, but they started messing with my money.
Right.
And I was like, what's going on? I came here and I was killing it too. And they decided, for whatever reason, they wanted to mess with my money. And I was like, well, shit, I'm not. And then so I said, well, I'm not. Clearly, you don't appreciate my services,
right?
So I'm not going to sell anymore. And so I really thought at that point they were going to fire me,
right?
But they wouldn't fire me
because even though you weren't selling well, I'm sure you still did pretty well just from residual.
I didn't do shit.
Really?
I said, well, we had an agreement.
Right.
I said, let me tell you, because here's the corporate speak they always try. So I turn it back on them. Let me test for understanding here. We agreed that if I do X, you pay me Y. I come and do X, but now you're saying you don't want to pay me Y. Is that what I'm hearing?
Pretty simple.
I just wanted to make sure that we're on the same page.
Exactly. Oh.
And so I said, oh, well then what do I look like doing X?
Right.
If you're not going to pay me Y.
That's about as clear as you can get.
It was as clear as it could be. And
That's
so I
hilarious.
said, well, I'm not doing shit. And
Right?
it was, at the time they were called, what did they tell me? I wasn't showing business maturity at the time. So I said, fuck you. Give me my goddamn money.
Exactly. Kind of simple, like we agreed upon
I don't,
from
I
the
don't give a
jump.
fuck if it's mature or not. You owe me
Exactly.
money.
Exactly.
And so I didn't do anything. And so I didn't go to meetings. I didn't do shit. I thought that any day they're
They
gonna
are
fire me.
going to fire me. Right.
They wouldn't fire me. So I went and got my real estate license.
Mhm.
I got my
I
insurance
like that.
license.
Yep.
I started a business.
Mhm.
I had did some trial. This lasted for 2 years.
Wow.
So by the time I left, I had a fully functioning business.
Right.
Office employees and everything. I just started showing. And so let me just start showing up to my own business now.
That is hilarious. Oh my God. I love it. I
So
absolutely love it.
but had that not happened,
Yeah.
I would have never even thought to have a side hustle or I wasn't even. It didn't even enter my mind.
Yeah.
But it caused me to start thinking differently. I was like, shit, I don't own that. It's not their job to make me rich.
Nope.
It's their job to help facilitate them being rich.
Exactly.
And that was the best lesson I learned in like thinking like an employee versus
Right.
thinking like a business owner.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
so,
Well put. I mean, because I think that's something really big to take away for a lot of people is, even in the midst of what we're in right now, when you go back differently. Go back with a different mindset. Go back
right,
with, okay, well, clearly companies are, when they, kind of get caught with their pants down, like many have now, then
right.
it's very easy for them to start, making very broad strokes and start
Oh
cutting
yeah.
jobs, cutting salaries, all of
Hmm.
this other stuff. So, at some point, and this is something that I teach a lot, at some point it needs to click in here that
Yeah.
you are not as special as you think you are.
No.
You know what I mean? As an employee, meaning you are on someone else's payroll, you're
Right.
not you are expendable. I mean,
Right.
depending on, obviously what you're doing and kind of what your role is, but even it doesn't even matter. I always say that. I think I wrote it in my book. If your name isn't either on the door, on the masthead outside the building, with a big ass,
Good point.
sign in front of your parking spot,
Hmm.
you're kind of expendable. So,
Right.
I really hope that people understand that. Again, I see tremendous opportunity in this market right now that we're in to look for potentially a business based on the skill set that you have. I said this in a recent post, to really start having some of these digital, drinks and, meetups and everything else with a lot of other people that have been laid off.
Yeah.
There's so much talent now
A
that is like
lot.
laid off looking for their next gig. Why are
Hmm.
we not tribing up with each other
Yeah.
and starting a freaking company? I mean,
Start
you can
partnering up.
literally find amazing engineers that just got laid off, an
Yep.
amazing executive assistant, amazing, COO that is no longer a COO,
Yep.
or someone next in line for that position or was. You see what I mean? So I just,
Yeah.
I just don't want people to get complacent and think, oh my God, what's happening? The world is falling in. It's not.
No. Unfortunately, there's going to be a percentage of the population that'll get left behind.
Yeah.
You
That's
know,
just natural. Yeah.
However, there are going to be a large percentage and hopefully a even bigger percentage that take advantage of this opportunity. Even in the worst, economy, like what happened in 2008 or the dot-com bust, or, there's things that come out of that, and money never goes away.
Right.
Because, oh, I don't have any money. Money never goes away. It just gets redirected.
Great way to put it.
Somebody else has got it now.
Exactly.
It didn't disappear.
Right.
The same money in the system is always there. It's just how do I get access to it?
Right.
And how I was accessing money before, that avenue is now closed. It still exists.
Right.
I just need to access it differently now.
Right. Right. Well put. Well put. Now, speaking of that access, let's look at sort of not even a scenario. Like I've been really watching the market, and I've noticed that the market has been, volatile on paper, so to speak. But even within that sort of, supposed volatility, I also see a lot of opportunity. I have a
Oh,
friend that's
yeah.
a day trader, and he's just been like, just give me $1,000, Phoenix. And I'm like, even those knows, make sure I get this rent paid real quick.
Right.
And he's actually killing it. So that's one of the things um, that I really wanted to kind of chat over with you is, what if you've got some discretionary spending and, it's money that you feel you can lose without like, losing your house or losing your car, what should people look for?
As far as in the stock market?
Yeah.
Okay. There's a lot of opportunity. Anytime you have wide swings up and down, 2,000 point, gains or losses in a day, that means that there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of volatility. And if you are a day trader, you can make a killing.
Right.
Problem is, most people aren't professional day traders, and it's very, very risky.
Right. It is.
So unless you really know what you're doing, you're probably going to lose money.
Right. Right.
However, since the general markets are significantly down, my advice would be to invest in the broad market. So in S&P, Russell 2000, in the form of an ETF or an exchange traded fund.
Mm-hmm.
One of the best who have ever done it, Warren Buffett, that's his suggestion. He likes ETFs. He said, I tell my children, if they had money to invest, put it in a Vanguard S&P fund and just let it ride.
And leave it alone. Right.
And leave it alone, because at some point it's going to go back to wherever the peak was.
Exactly.
2,800, 28,000 or something, 29,000.
It was like almost 29. Yeah, exactly.
Right. So it will return back to that peak at some point, and probably relatively soon. So everything is on sale, is how I look at it.
Right. Right.
There's no functional or intrinsic reason why a lot of these stocks are down. All of these, well-respected, profitable companies are for sale for the most part. So,
yeah.
So if I had $1,000 to put in, I would get in either in an ETF or pick a few companies that you've always wanted to buy but just couldn't afford.
Right.
You couldn't afford to spend $1,600 for one share of Amazon stock.
Right. Right.
I don't know what it's trading for today, but
probably like that.
catch it on the dip.
Yeah.
Catch Apple on the dip.
Right.
Then ride it back up.
And there's nothing wrong with, because I think a lot of people see that like, wow, I have one share of Apple stock, whoopee, you know what I mean?
Right.
But, I've been lucky. The funny thing is, my sad story, I guess you would look at it, is I bought Apple stock when we had when those box Apple computers were out.
Oh.
Like, you know which one I'm talking about. Not the pretty ones with the rainbow colors and shit. I'm talking about the bitch that came out where you're just like, is this DOS? Like, what the hell is this? You know what I mean? Right. I loved it. I thought it was the most brilliant thing ever. A mouse? What's a mouse? Yeah. I bought that stock, and I remember I think it's split. Then I saw a little bit of cash, and my eyes got big, and I was like, sell it all. And I cashed it out. I made like maybe a couple grand or something like that.
Yeah.
And then for some reason, it was right before the next generation of computer came out, and it just went watching. And I'm just like,
well, if we had a crystal ball, there's a whole lot of things we probably would have done. Apple. Yeah, I remember when Apple's trading I literally remembered because I was in Texas. I thought to myself, I was like, wow, that couldn't be.
That's not
and then you fast forward.
Possible.
Because they were still a really good fundamental company.
Yeah.
But that was also before Steve Jobs came back
and set fire to all that insanity that they created over there.
So the rest is history. But fast forward, you had what was it, in 2009 or so? Mm-hmm. You could get Amazon for
like nothing, right?
Like $33.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Stupid.
Oh my god!
And it's like,
it just makes you feel sick a little bit, especially when you see what it's valued at now. It's just
the best move I ever made. I got a bunch of my clients into Amazon when it was about 150.
Oh, fantastic! Wow, they're doing just fine. Thank you.
They're ecstatic.
Damn it.
I
That's
wish I had got more. If I had known what I, like you said, if I had a crystal ball, I
right.
would put everything in
You're
there.
just like, just throw it all in, and I'll
Yes,
just pray. I'll pray a
right,
little bit. I'll pray that this bookstore takes off. Damn it.
right, exactly. Who knew at the time?
Right. Well, I didn't. That was my claim to fame. I did the, and everyone's gonna be like, I know, Phoenix, shut up already. I did the graphic design on the pitch book that actually ended up winning the Amazon deal, and the investment bank that I
Oh,
was working at
are you
actually took them
serious?
public.
Wow,
Thank you very much.
that's
Tell everyone y'all owe me a little debt of gratitude. Damn it.
yeah. They know they got to get you something for that.
They didn't give me shit, y'all, please. Yeah,
You know,
like
that's like the guy, the lady who did the original Nike logo or
yeah,
something.
exactly. I know I should call Deutsche Bank and be like, can y'all like send me that original? Because I'm sure they probably kept it, but like, can
Oh,
I get that original pitch book back since it was my design anyway? Damn it.
you got to keep copies down next time.
Yeah, exactly.
You
Well, that was like 1999, 98,
know.
99. Ooh, crazy. So here's another question. So for people that have like a little bit more cash, kind of in that 6-digit range, same thing, same sort of advice, do you think, or can they be a little bit more risky, or should they be a little bit more pragmatic?
Well, they can afford to be a little more risky. It's the same strategy. It's
Yeah,
just that they can afford to put more on the table.
got it.
And so even people in that range, that low six-figure range, we're
Mhm.
making in the hundreds to 300s or so.
Yeah,
Um, a lot of those jobs are in jeopardy too.
no, they are because they're
You know,
expensive.
and so for them, it's the same thing. I would invest in, or if they have money for the markets, get in the markets.
Yep.
But more so for in that range, now is the time to invest in, I believe, education and
Yep.
maybe an additional income stream
Mhm.
or a shift altogether. If they
Right.
see the writing on the wall
Right.
with the current industry, and they can see it going away at some point relatively soon,
Right.
now's the time to start to uh, make that pivot so that over the next 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, they're in a position to, make a move. Now, it may not be right away for them, so they have time.
Right.
And typically, people in that range, they have some resources that can, float them a little, whether it be for a few months or several months.
Right.
They can absorb that, and
Right.
so now's the time. If you're going to make a move or a switch, now's the time to do it.
That makes sense.
And, I would say educate themselves, start a business
Yeah.
of some sort. So
Brilliant.
them too.
And then I don't want to leave all the wealthy people out. Uh, so, for instance, if you've got, I've supported CEOs, usually younger ones that are, first time CEOs.
Mm,
You know, sort of hit on a really cool idea. Next thing you know, they're the head of a company with 40 to 70 million dollars in funding.
right.
This is hitting them hard as well, because now they invested all this money into headcount that they now have to lay off and obviously preserve the funding that they have. So just kind of curious with their personal wealth, kind of the same story. I love the fact that you're giving a strategy that can be sort of copied and pasted across all income brackets.
Yeah.
But let's be honest. That particular income bracket, especially since I dealt a lot with a lot of the finances from my bosses, it's different rules.
Yeah,
Different rules sort of
definitely.
apply. So just kind of curious if there's any advice for them as well. Like how should they approach not just the markets, but their personal wealth and making sure that that's preserved as much as possible.
Yeah, good question. Well, over a certain income or wealth amount,
Hmm.
there's certain tax strategies that they should be taking advantage of.
Hmm.
And especially if they have really high revenue producing businesses, or if they're personally taking on a lot of revenue. um, One of the strategies I'd suggest for people like that is start giving it away,
Hmm.
because you can only write off so much. There's only so much you can reduce taxes.
Hmm.
And so at some point, you have to either give that money to the IRS,
Hmm.
or you can give it to a cause that you believe in.
Right.
it's leaving your account. So
Right.
which would you rather it show, where is it, would you rather it show up?
Right. Right.
And so gifting strategies are good for people in that, bracket,
Right.
as well as, if there's if they see the writing on the wall with their business where they've reduced headcount dramatically, they've
Hmm.
cut expenses dramatically, now may be the time to either spin off
Hmm.
a division, uh, partner, or invest in a whole nother venture.
Hmm.
You can make some really big moves now, because if you're already taking things down,
Yeah.
not that far to go to just
To
pivot
basically,
altogether.
exactly, exactly. That
If
makes
you
sense.
already reduce headcount by 60, 70%,
Yeah.
you're in a position where that might be permanent, or you might have to make a move. The other thing for those that are in a position to take advantage of,
Mhm.
coming out of this, the real estate market is going to probably be hit,
Really hard. Yeah.
because even with all the stimulus, I don't care how many checks you give people, at some point that money's going to run out.
Yep.
At some point, all those jobs we talked about, some of them aren't coming back. As
Right.
a matter of fact, a lot of them are not coming back, or at
I'm
least not coming
feeling
back.
that. Yeah.
And so you're going to have people that are not going to be able to make their rent or their mortgage payment, and you're going to see a lot more foreclosures on the market in the next 6 to 9 months.
Right.
So that's going to bring property values down. And if you're in the market, it'll be a buyer's market at that point.
Right.
Your option of properties on the market that are affordable.
Hmm.
And so if you were thinking of buying either a first home
Hmm.
or an investment property, which a lot of people are, then to sit and kind of wait and see what happens with the real estate, I think is probably a good thing to do. The
Couldn't
writing's
disagree.
on the wall. The interest rates, the Fed already cut interest rates to zero, so they can't
Basically.
cut rates too much further.
Right.
Already, I know in California, it's really, really hard to get a jumbo loan, because they've eliminated those the underwriting for those loans right now. And in
Hmm.
California, you need a jumbo loan because the prices are so high here.
Exactly.
And so that's the beginning of the domino effect that is inevitable
Right.
in the real estate market. So it's only a matter of time.
Right.
I had last week I had a client pass away,
Mhm.
and his adult children are handling his affairs,
Mhm.
and he has an extensive real estate portfolio.
Wow.
And a lot in his issue was, and the kids are now looking at, in this climate, they're already planning for renters not being able to pay their rent.
Right. Right.
They also have a lot of commercial property. They're
Ooh.
also planning, hey, businesses will be shut down.
Yeah.
They're not going to be able to make their lease payments.
Right.
So we're having these conversations right now
It's crazy.
because they see it coming.
Yeah.
It's inevitable. You
It
can't
is.
that tidal wave you can see a mile away.
Mhm.
So what are we going to do about it?
Right. Right.
So there's some depreciation strategies that we're talking about, and as a matter of fact, in a way, the fact that some of the values are down is going to help with the estate tax. And so you just have to figure out what's the best way to move in an up or down environment. There's always options.
Yeah. That makes sense. So boiling it back, just to again the people that are check to check, because I think there's a lot more people than than is conspicuous on LinkedIn. But for people who are check to check, do you have any sort of very very sort of basic strategies for people? I know I do. I'm all about right now minimizing and going through and auditing everything, all those EFT transactions that are coming out.
Yeah.
Do I need both Netflix and YouTube
Right.
TV, or can I get
Yeah.
away with just Netflix? You know what I mean?
Right.
Just to be able to sort of really tighten my own belt a little bit. But I'm just curious if you have some very simple strategies for people that they can take away.
Yeah. And one of them is just what you said. Go through and look at all of your auto debit, subscription accounts. They're
Right.
probably more than you think they
They
are.
are.
If you look at your Spotify and your
Mhm.
Pandora and your
Yeah, iTunes
and iTunes and all the little, audible.com, all
Mhm.
the little shit you pay for, it adds up.
Yeah.
And so I would go through and eliminate those that aren't, absolutely necessary.
Mhm.
The other thing is if you have zero right now, you're looking, okay, well, what do I
What?
do?
Right.
You're not going to go back to a job, or maybe it's been eliminated. Um, there are some things that you can still do. You can still sell online. There is still that Amazon truck is still circling our neighborhood
Yeah.
every day. He's
Agreed.
delivering to somebody,
Yep.
because everybody, especially in this environment, you're forced to order more things online.
Exactly.
So plug into that some way. You can deliver stuff. You can work at the warehouse. They're looking for people. You go to the grocery store, all the people in there are shoppers for
Yeah.
people. And so at least half the people in the grocery store now are shopping for other folks that
Right.
order groceries online.
That's brilliant.
And so that has created opportunities. And so I'm not sure how long that will last, but you have to take advantage of the things that are in front of you, and then jump to the next thing as it opens up. I
Right.
mean, it'll be, again, Darwin's theory, the misnomer is survival of the fittest. It's
Right.
not survival of the fittest. It's the species that can adapt the quickest
Right.
is the one that will survive.
Right.
Right now, are going to be required to adapt, and adapt very quickly, or else the
We'll
theory is
die. Like, I don't know.
we won't survive.
Right. Exactly. Financially or otherwise. Exactly. Exactly.
If you can adapt and you can keep in shift, um, you'll do fine.
Oh yeah, I agree. I agree. And it's funny that you mentioned that because for the longest time, I've been dancing around the idea of this, what do they call it? FBA, fulfilled by Amazon.
Oh,
I've always just been really curious about it. And of course, there's like a couple of people out. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
exactly. And a lot of people, obviously, there's a lot of people out there doing it. And then, like
Mhm.
Kevin David is like the guru of that right now. And
Yeah.
he's the young man that in 2 years made, over $10 million doing,
Wow.
an FBA business that he grew and grew and grew. And,
Mhm.
obviously it's a bright, shiny object, but I thought about it. And I'm like, well, I know how much Amazon is up and down these hallways. They're literally the only people like out in my apartment complex, dropping stuff off. So,
Yeah.
it's really made me sort of like, okay, I've got all this time right now. Maybe I should get my ass
Yeah.
back on YouTube, which I'm paying
Yeah.
for. Actually, YouTube's free. And,
I got the
and
free version.
yeah, exactly. And really sort of look through, like, is this something I can do with the discretionary spending that I have, or that little bit of stash that I saved up, just in case of a rainy day, that kind of thing. So that's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, there has never been a better time than now to start a business.
I
It has
completely
never
agree.
been easier. The threshold has never been lower.
Mhm.
It has never, you've never had access to so many tools. There used to be, a point in history where all the knowledge resided somewhere, and then it was just a matter, did you have access to that knowledge?
Right, right,
Well, now the knowledge is available to everybody on a damn phone. You can access anything you want to know on your phone. And so that's no longer a barrier. And what's strange about the time we live in is that there's no lack of information. There's no uh, lack of information or dearth of information. There's a lack of people wanting to take action.
right.
And so, you know, and then you have a lot of people that will go and learn the information and take the class and go to the seminar and order the books and all that shit, but then they won't do anything with it.
I completely agree.
And then they'll do it again.
Right. The next year.
And I say that because I've been guilty of it too. There's so many things I've sat and learned and listened to and sat through that I didn't take action on either. So I'm not pointing fingers,
Mhm.
but I am saying that, hey, at some point, take one thing and see it through.
Right. Right. That's
Because there's millions of ways to make money. Just pick one.
right. Right. And my thing is, you got a whole lot of time.
Right.
As much as they say, oh, ooh, May's coming up, we're gonna be, set free. I'm not convinced that we are.
In LA, I don't know if you read it today, they just
Oh Lord, what? I don't know if I can handle this.
to be
Please,
the bearer of
please.
bad news,
Uh,
but LA County just extended their safer at home thing till May 15th.
really?
So yeah, I just read that a few hours ago.
Great.
But to your point, you have the time.
Yeah.
Have the time. If nothing else, this whole pandemic and us being stuck at home, what it has exposed is exposed people's level of discipline. Because all the shit that you said that as excuses, oh, I didn't have time, or I'm busy at work, and the kids are school. The kids aren't. You got to drop the kids nowhere.
Right.
All of their activities, or sports and shit that they used to be involved in, they're not doing that right now.
Right.
So, for the average person, they have a lot of time, and so it is exposed, the level of discipline that they're able to achieve, because now all the excuses have been wiped away.
Exactly.
There's no reason now not to learn something online. Why not?
Right.
So, it's hard, because if you haven't practiced discipline like any other muscle, it has atrophied over the years. But like that person that hasn't worked out in 15, 20 years, at some point you got to get off your ass and do that first push-up.
Exactly.
Whatever it is, you got to start somewhere and progress from there. But now you don't have a choice. A lot of folks, like you said, if you don't have anything, you don't have a choice but to develop that discipline muscle, because you're going to be asked out if you don't.
Right. Right. And I see it, I see people, within sort of my private tribe and also sort of my coaching clients that still just don't get it, and I'm just like, okay, well, there's only so much that I can do. I can lead you to this good water, but if you choose not to drink, then you can sit there and die on these banks. I don't care. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I have to hustle. I've got to figure out, where my direction needs to lead in order for me to maintain some semblance of a normal life. So,
Right.
Again, and I've learned discipline. I've self-disciplined over, a number of years, because I've always sort of had to hustle. I mean, we were both musicians at one point. So you remember we got lean sometimes, and we were like,
please, telling you,
any gig that pays $50 for singing for 3 hours, I'll take it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people really need to sort of kind of humble themselves a little bit. I don't know how else to put it. And really think through, like, okay, this is gonna suck. I used to do this really, really well. I see that there's a job opening. God forbid someone see me in this outfit, but I think this whole situation has really allowed us all some humility.
Yeah.
And is forcing us into just a different way of thinking, and not really giving a shit what anyone else thinks about us, in that sort of vain way, because you've got to pay bills or you will get evicted. And I don't want people, another thing that a lot of people are forgetting is, yes, there's all this sort of rent forgiveness and stuff running, kind of out in the atmosphere, like, oh, you don't have to pay rent for 3 months. You can't get evicted because Governor Newsom said. But I'm like, well, you also realize that after month 3,
right,
that money comes due, and I have no idea what the terms are. Like, I don't think they're going to be able to space that out over 2 years. Have you re up your rent? They're going to come for that shit pretty quick. And if you don't have it, then guess what? You might get the big boot to the backside in favor of someone that actually had the money and saved or whatever else, or was in a better financial position than you were. So. I again, thank you for having this conversation, because I think I really want people to understand that we gotta think differently, and we've got to build the muscle quick. Inject some steroids if you got to. I mean, at least some some attitude steroids, and really, do the damn thing and do it fast, because if you were struggling before, oh man, like, it's hardcore now. Like, this is
really hard.
This is a call to action. Like, it's not even, there's no time to wax poetic and wipe tears. Like, it's like, okay, go cry for a minute, but get your ass back on that treadmill real fast.
Well, what's scary about this time that we're in is that there's this really quiet before the storm. And you see there's a lot of stuff coming. We haven't even begun to see the worst of the impact that this is going to have.
Yeah.
Let alone, I don't think we haven't even reached the peak as far as people that are, dying from this.
Right.
But, it's almost like a tsunami where the tide goes out.
Hmm.
Like, well, where'd the water go?
Right.
Oh, it's coming back.
Oh, it's right. Way higher.
It's coming back.
Yeah.
And so I think that's kind of what we're feeling now is like, okay, things are relatively calm.
Hmm.
People aren't really feeling the brunt of it in this moment,
Right.
but it's
But
coming.
it's coming.
It's coming. And
Exactly.
now's the time to prepare for what is coming.
Right.
And it's one thing to hear it,
Yeah.
but it's another thing to believe it and actually do something about it.
Right.
And I'm afraid that not enough people are going to act
Yeah.
on the information.
I
So
agree. I agree. And I think,
I can do my part, but like you said, you can lead them, you can teach them, you can show them,
mhm,
you know. But we have this. There's a saying called I'm a leader, but I'm not a savior. I can
right.
lead, but I cannot save you.
Right.
And
Right.
so, hopefully, yeah, I'm doing my part right
Mhm.
now. I have a 30-day free coaching trial.
Yes, please tell everybody about that.
Well, I'm founder of the My Empower Money platform, and we and NPM Elite Coaching.
Mhm.
And typically, I do one-on-one coaching. I do group coaching, and it's typically 90-day cycles. But during this pandemic, I said, what can I do?
Yeah.
And so I opened it up to male and female. I have a current group going now that are experiencing really good results. But like I said, I can teach, I can lead, I can do all these things, but I can't do it for you.
Right. Right.
And I can do my small part
Yeah.
in trying to get as many people on the boat.
Right. Before that big wave comes back. Exactly.
It comes back, and hopefully they take the information and actually run with it, because by the end of 30 days, I'm packing so much in these 30 days. You
Yeah.
have the tools, you're set on the direction. You can do a lot with that information.
True.
And I offer, hey, if you want to stay and pay a reduced price, then
Mhm.
you can. But
Right.
I'm going to try to give as much in that 30 days, or you really have enough to go and do your thing
Right.
after 30 days.
Right.
And so, so far so good. I've been
I love
really,
that.
really, really pleased with their progress.
Fantastic. Fantastic. That's actually good to know. I mean, because I think also in a lot of ways, people that go through programs like yours
Mhm.
and do it successfully and do it, kind of what I call out loud and proud, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
being conspicuous examples of if you just stick to it and you're determined and you follow what you hear and, and obviously you reap the benefits of all of that just beautiful information that over your lifetime you've developed. I mean, I think when people see that, then they're more apt to want to know more and hopefully, like where did you learn how to do that? Like how are you thriving when everybody else is like suffering?
Yeah.
I love that concept of, when you put conspicuous examples of, badasses out there, I like to call them,
Yeah.
then everybody has a little bit of FOMO and then they want to actually jump on the boat. Hopefully it's
Exactly.
not too late, but
Yeah.
but
Well,
we
it's the same thing you're doing. What
yeah,
what you're doing with this here, in times like this, it's time for leaders to stand up,
yeah,
and real leaders will.
right,
And so what you're doing is you're leading your people. What I'm doing, I'm just leading my people, leading my tribe.
right.
I put a post on today. I was like, well, who's coming with me?
Right. Right. Exactly. I know. I saw
I'm
that
doing
post.
some
So
shit.
I was like, where you going? Because I want to go. Take me with me. I want to go exactly where you're going, guys. I
I
know.
said, as for me and my people, we gonna
Right.
be ready and weaponized
Yeah.
and ready. Who's coming with
Exactly. Exactly. And
me?
we'll be hiring while everyone else is scrambling for, collecting cart jobs and shit. So I get it. It is what it is. So Kelly, thank you. I really, really appreciate this. I think this is
Thank
going to
you.
hopefully help a lot of people. And um, I will link your contact information in the sort of outro of this, just so that people know how to find you if they're interested in being part of the coaching session. If they don't catch you on this one, they catch you on the rebound or whatever, or specifically for one-on-one coaching, which I always tell people, if don't just not get coaching,
Right.
just because it's in a group,
Right.
always go the one-on-one route because it's direct. It cuts directly to you, and it will give you everything that you need in a one-to-one, no BS kind of way,
Right.
instead of just not doing it because, oh, I don't really feel comfortable in a crowd.
Right.
Stupidest thing I've ever heard as a rationalization. So, I'll link all of your information, and
That'll be good.
yeah,
But
absolutely.
they're out there. There are advantages to both.
I
The
agree.
one-on-one is that you get really close attention.
Yep.
For me, what
Yep.
you miss out on is the group dynamic
Exactly.
and the group pressure. When you're in a group,
Exactly.
it causes a sort of pressure that I can't
Mhm.
do by myself.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
that group dynamic, and it's positive pressure, and there's positive feedback, and you're getting input from different vantage points other than mine.
Exactly. And that's the part that I love about teaching in groups is
Mhm.
hearing other people's stories, because inevitably there'll be one little, two or three little golden nuggets that,
Yes.
I know what I teach and, obviously my life, whatever, but I don't know everything. So,
Right.
it's great when you have like a nice melange, if you will, of people
Mhm.
who have different viewpoints, come from different backgrounds, have different ways of thinking about the same thing, that
Yeah.
maybe you're just like, oh shit, I never thought of it that way. That's
Right.
perfect. So I love group coaching. I think it's fantastic. And even the series that I'm doing right now it's a mix. It's like,
Okay.
group, but then I do one-on-one to like beat people over the head essentially.
Yeah.
So
You beat them up more
I beat them
one-on-one.
up on one-on-one, and I'll deny it. I did not. I don't know what you're talking about. But I
One-on-one, I can show up to your house.
yeah, exactly. And I probably will, with my little mask on and be like, okay, what
Exactly.
are you doing? Because I didn't get the full you at that last group session. So what's going on? So
Yeah.
yeah, that's awesome.
But no, it's been a pleasure, man.
Thank you. I appreciate
I
it.
always like uh, chopping it up and providing as much as I can with people like yourself. When you call, I'm like, hey, where you need me, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
And even into the future,
Yeah.
if there's any way I can help, or if you want me to hold the microphone,
Please.
I can be the cameraman.
No,
Yeah,
no,
what
I
you
want
need,
you on
bro?
the right. Well, I still, as far as I'm concerned, I still have a conference coming up in October, so we'll be
Hey,
talking.
I'll do back of the room. I'll do the back room sales.
Bullshit! You'll be on stage teaching the kids. What are you talking about?
I'll do that too.
Yes,
Hey,
you will.
I'm a servant here, so
That was, yeah, well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So, thank you, my friend. It's been amazing. And everyone, this is Kay Curtis. I will link all of his information to both, his website, his classes, his coaching. He will have a book coming out relatively soon. Working
yes,
on that with him. Um,
yes.
and yeah, I'm excited to see all that you do, and I appreciate you taking the time. So,
Thank you.
thank you.